Hi there guys. In this video we're going to have a look at some original production ammunition for the Indian 410 musket. That is the 410 converted Lee Enfield that was issued in India to various forces. I think police and guards tended to be the main recipients of those guns. Anyway, I picked up one of those guns back in the spring, and of course I didn't have any of the original ammunition for it. And this is, to the best of my knowledge, this has not ever been sold in Canada. I know it's been sold in the US. A buddy of mine who owns a gun shop happened to be talking to one of his customers, and somehow or another that customer, told him that he had some of this original ammunition, and my buddy mentioned that he knew me and that I had one of those guns, so that gentleman kindly donated a packet of this ammunition, and then later on I managed to get another packet of it, so a grand total of 20 rounds. So I'm very pleased to have this because, like I said, it's, to the best of my knowledge, has never been sold in Canada. So I'm probably going to keep one of these wrapped up. This is like the one I'll hang on to wrapped up, just as kind of a cartridge collector's item. They are both identical markings. So we're going to break into this sealed up one to see what exactly is in it. As you can see, it is a paper packet, which is kind of a greenish gray paper packet wrapped with, well, I would call it baler twine. I guess it's hemp or something like that, perhaps, the cordage. And it has the appropriate markings on it. You can see that it says 10 cartridges SA, or small arms, ball. And we have a number up in the corner here. I think that's FA 43, not sure exactly what that means. And underneath some of the more markings, BL SB, I guess that's ball load, single ball, I would imagine. .410, 410 inch, Mark 1Z, or Z for those of you who like to pronounce it that way. 29660, so I'm going to assume that's the 29th day of June 1960. And POF, Pakistan Ordnance Factory. And we've got some more markings down below here. What's that say? CI, and then A with an arrow, and P. I would assume that's the acceptance or proof. And then SB, again, in larger letters in green. Single ball, I would assume, is what that stands for. So anyway, let's open this up and see what's inside. I have not been into it yet, so this is, I've seen pictures of this ammo, but I have never actually had any of my own sweaty hands before. So we've got a knot which comes off pretty easily. So there's our wrapping, just like an old-fashioned parcel. All comes off with one easy twist there. And just fold it over, just like a birthday present or a Christmas present, just fold it over on each side. So we'll lay that down, see how it's laid out inside the package here. I'm doing this carefully so as to preserve the integrity of this. I may just, put some stuff in this for a display item, so that's why I'm being so careful with it. Alright. So there are the rounds laid out inside the package. They've got some paper strips to separate them. So they are facing forward and backwards, as it were, so that they make a nice square package. Nice tidy job. Let's have a look at one of the individual rounds. As you can see, there's a paper separator there between them. Let's have a close-up look at the head stamp. So if we get the camera to focus up nice and close there, we can see on the top it says POF, or Pakistan Ordnance Factory. I believe that's what that stands for. 410, 1Z, and the date, which is 1960. So reasonably old ammunition, and it is a brass case. We've got the large Berdan primer. There appears to be some primer sealant around that stuff, around the edges of the primer. And this would be corrosively primed, to the best of my knowledge. And brass cased. And we have the projectile, which is a single lead round ball with quite a heavy crimp applied above it, and also a fairly heavy crimp below the ball, so it's certainly not going to go anywheres. And you can see a little bit of the little change in color there from the annealing process. Normally I like to pull some of this type of ammunition apart to see what's going on inside it, but that might be a bit of a challenge considering the heavy crimp. I'm certain I can get it apart, but it might be a destructive effort in the process. I may try the bullet puller to see if I can get that ball to come out. It, I'm sure, will not survive the attempt to remove it intact. I'm sure it will be somewhat damaged by the process, but we will give it a try with the Inertia bullet puller, and I'll get right back to you and see if this works out for me. After a considerable amount of banging on the concrete floor here with the bullet puller, I managed to actually get the projectile to come out, which surprised me because I didn't think that it would work. But anyway, there we go. There we have one lead round ball. And it has, of course, suffered a small amount of damage, but I thought it would be banged up a lot worse than that in the process. So I'm going to have to get the scale out and weigh that. But anyway, like I said, I'm quite surprised that this thing was, that it came apart with the impact puller. So you can see we had to straighten out this crimp in order to get the round ball out. So now we've got a big stack of wads inside there to remove. So that's the second problem. I think we'll have to pretty much pick those out with a sharp object. Well, I've got the dial calipers here, so let's measure this round ball up to see how big it is. So I'm going to go at basically 90 degrees to the way it was in the cartridge case, because I think it probably would have been sheared off a little bit by the action of going through that crimp and opening the crimp up. So we'll measure it in the other direction and see what we get here. We have 0.412. So that seems pretty appropriate for the application. Yeah, 412. So a reasonably good sized round ball. I would assume that these are, now that we get 410, if we measure it there, these are most likely a swaged round ball. They are, of course, lead. So they should be reasonably consistent in their size, because swaged, and basically swaged and rolled is how these work. The factory basically extrudes lead wire into little chunks, and then they roll it around between kind of rotating or kind of plates that go like this, and that turns it into a reasonably round or spherical projectile. So anyway, so yeah, 410, it's right on the money for the bore size, so that's good. It should fit the barrel reasonably well. So next up, I'm going to run it over to the scale, and I'll tell you how much it weighed. Alright, not much more to say about this round ball, other than it weighs 99 grains according to my scale. So we'll move on from this to the wads that are in the cartridge case, and we'll see if we can get some of those pulled out of the way so we can see what's inside. Alright, we've got a top card over the top of the wad column, and under that we've got another wad, which looks like it's more of a fiber type wad. I might be better off to go further down into the wad with the screw here in order to get a good grip on it. There we go. So there's what the fiber wad looks like, mostly. Pardon the damage. It is about 395 in diameter as well. Of course, a card wad, when you fire, when it's compressed, it gets bigger this direction, so it can be a little bit undersized when it's not fired, when the pressure is applied, because it's basically being pinched between the powder gases and the projectile. It will swell up to fit pretty much whatever it's going through, within reason, of course. So there's the top wad, that card, and I don't know if we can get any light on the subject down there or not. There is another wad down below that, so it feels like another hard card type of thing. I may put this back in the impact bullet puller and see if we can loosen things up a bit. A few more smacks with the impact bullet puller, and I managed to get the second wad to migrate up a little further here, so see if we can pull it free. There we go. Well, that came out with quite a bit of ease. So there's our second wad. So that one goes there. They appear to be identical, those two wads. And we've got one more wad. I don't know if we can get any light on the subject or not. There is what appears to be an over powder card down on the bottom. So I might put this back in the impact puller and give it a few more taps and see if I can get that freed up too. So using the impact puller once again, I was able to loosen up the last couple of wads that were in the cartridge. And we had the next wad down was this card wad, kind of a harder card wad. And then underneath it and on top of the powder was another one of those manila covered or manila colored wads. They're quite a bit harder and thin, so that would be, I guess that's sort of your nitro card, I would assume. And let's measure this one if we can find a spot where it's not swaged out as much. It is 0.12728, something like that in thickness, at least there. These are a little bit hard to measure because of course they squish a little bit when you measure them. 0.125. Yeah, that seems like a standard shotgun card thickness of wad. You used to be able to buy that size of wad. Maybe you can still buy it today. And then this other little nitro card or top card or whatever, which appears to be identical to the top one, and it's a thin one as well. It's 0.25 of an inch thick. And what was about the diameter of these? All these measurements are kind of for anybody who would care to recreate a round like this. I know it's probably pretty damn boring for most people, but so we got 396 in diameter again. So let's have a look at the powder. There is 13.8 grains of this powder, and it is an extruded, short-grained, tubular type of powder. I can only assume that it's similar in burn rate to IMR 4227. It's actually a pretty standard charge weight for a 410 shotgun. Usually most 410s have, between 13 and 15 grains of powder in them. So anyway, hard to tell what exactly this powder is. It's probably some sort of domestically produced non-canister grade powder. So once more in excruciating detail, here is a cartridge broken down. We've got the cartridge case. We've got the powder. We have the various wads that make up the wad column. And finally, the projectile. So, anyway, thanks for hanging with me, guys, while we dissected one of these rounds. And I've got a few more here that I'm going to fire. And hopefully we're going to try to get some chronograph readings with those ones that we fire. And we'll see what they're capable of at the range out of the proper 410 Indian pattern musket. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll talk to you later.